What's going on, NBA draft fans, and more specifically, what is good, New York Knicks fans? It's your boy Corey Tulba, the NBA draft dude, the Wolf of Ball Street, your favorite draft analyst. I'm here today to bring you another team-specific big board, this time the New York Knicks. Look, lottery night didn't go as well as planned, but guess what, Knicks fans? You didn't move back, so let's consider that a win. And just because the Knicks didn't move up and put themselves in position to get one of the top 4 guys doesn't mean that there's not great value to be had at pick 11 and then again at pick 42 in the second round. So I'm here to bring you the guys that I think Leon Rose and crew should have on their board. I'm going to start with pick 11 and bring you guys the 4 options that I think should really be priority guys for the Knicks at 11. Number 4 on this list is Jeremy Sohan from Baylor. Sohan is 6'9", he's got a 7-foot wingspan, he's mobile, he's agile, he's strong, he can guard 1 through 5. You saw in the tournament he was able to switch out onto RJ Davis in a big moment and force him into a tough shot. He's able to guard bigger guys. If you switch him onto a big in the post, I think he could wall up and make that tough. He is what you're looking for in an NBA wing. Switchability, versatility. He can handle the ball, he can pass the ball. The shooting isn't there, but he's a guy that would modernize the Knicks roster, and that's what they need. They need guys that can play multiple positions. That's what Sohan brings. He's not going to be a sexy guy that's throwing up 25 points a night, but he's a guy that is going to impact winning. I look at him and I think Masai Ujiri would take this guy for the Raptors, and I think that's always a good draft philosophy to take, is doing what Masai Ujiri would do. So at number 4 for the Knicks would be Jeremy Sohan. The third guy that I think the Knicks should prioritize is Johnny Davis. You know, if you look at some of the recent boards, Johnny Davis has slipped a little bit. And if the Knicks could get him at pick 11, I think that would be a home run. Johnny Davis is a baller, man. This kid was laser focused the whole year. He had a load on his shoulder unlike any other player in college basketball. He had to do basically everything. So when you look at some of those percentages, take them with a little bit of a grain of salt, because the inefficiency can be explained by the massive amount of defensive attention that was on his shoulders every single night. But the kid can hoop, and the kid can get buckets, man. Look no further than his game against Jaden Ivey and Purdue, where he dropped 37 points on his head. And it wasn't just the scoring that's impressive about Davis. He averaged 8 rebounds a game, and he's one of the better defending guards in the class. I also think he has some untapped playmaking potential. Going back to the Purdue game, he made some awesome reads when the defense was focused on him at the end of the game in clutch time. Left-handed, one dribble live, whip ahead to the weak side corner. Really advanced stuff. In order to get assists, guys got to hit shots, and Wisconsin was not a team that was able to really be consistently relied upon outside of Davis. So I think that Davis would be an awesome pick if he was available for the Knicks at 11. The second guy that I think would be super intriguing for the New York Knicks is Benedict Matherin out of Arizona. 6'6" wing, absolute freak athlete, had one of the best posters in college basketball this year on TCU. The kid is also a sniper. He shoots off movement. And again, I'm talking about versatility. I'm talking about guys that can go up and down a lineup. I think that he could play next to RJ Barrett. I think he could play next to Quentin Grimes. I think he could play next to Julius Randle and Obi Toppin and Mitchell Robinson. He provides spacing, he gets up and down in transition, and he doesn't need the ball in his hands to get his points. Another thing about him that I like is I think he's got some untapped potential with the ball in his hands. He was pretty good in pick and roll when given the opportunity. I thought he flashed some intriguing little playmaking flashes to the roll man. Nothing crazy, nothing advanced, but enough that leaves you intrigued. I also think there's some untapped potential with him getting his own looks. So I think that, you know, if he hits his ultimate ceiling, you might be looking at a guy who is like a Victor Oladipo type player. But even if he doesn't hit that ceiling, I think he's going to be a really impactful two-way role player. So he would be a absolute get at 11 for the New York Knicks. And that brings me to the number 1 guy that I think the Knicks should be targeting, and that's the G League Ignite's Dyson Daniels. Measured in at 6'7.5" with a 6'11" wingspan. The Aussie was awesome for the Ignite this year, playing against pros in the G League. Now, he solves a few of the Knicks' issues. the Knicks have lacked a point guard, right? I didn't want to pigeonhole the Knicks with a point guard, but Dyson Daniels solves that a little bit because he was playing with the ball in his hands, acting as the de facto point guard for the Ignite this season. He also has that big size at 6'8" with a 6'11" wingspan, so he can play up and down the lineup. When you look at putting a guy like Emmanuel Quickley on the floor, you're going to need a guard that has big size to play next to him. I also think that Quickley is a guy that is capable of playing off the ball, and you almost want him to play off the ball a little bit because he's a guy that is such a good shooter. So if you release some of that on-ball pressure from RJ and Emmanuel Quickley, and you put that onto Dyson, he can create enough that it gives you multiple looks. Daniels, you're going to look at the shooting numbers and think, he's not a good shooter, but he finished at 41.5% over his last 10 games from three. It wasn't on crazy volume, it was like 3.5 attempts a game, but it's enough that gets you intrigued. And when you look at his form, it's pretty clean, so I think that it's going to be projectable going forward. So the fact that you can play him on or off the ball, up and down a lineup, and he fills multiple positions of need for the Knicks, I think that if he dropped to 11, Dyson Daniels would be an absolute steal for the New York Knicks. Let's move on to pick 42 for the Knicks. I think that there's going to be some really fun options here. I think that this is a sneaky, deep draft, and there's going to be value to be had. So I'm going to give you 3 guys that I think the Knicks could possibly target in the second round that may fill a position of need. One of the things that the Knicks need outside of like positional versatility is they need more shooting. If you're going to play Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle and RJ Barrett together, you need snipers on the floor. That's why I liked the pick of Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickley. I think those guys complement those other 3 guys really well. But I also think that the Knicks could take the local kid in Julian Champagnie from St. John's and help that as well. Champagnie is a guy who's 6'8" with a 6'10" wingspan. The load that he carried in St. John's is a little bit above his pay grade, but when you just put him in the role as an off-ball shooter, a guy who's going to attack closeouts and keeping the game simple, off the ball in an NBA role, I think that that's where he could really thrive. So I think he would be a fun get in the second round. Another guy I would look at in the second round at pick 42 was Wake Forest Alondas Williams. I think Williams is an absolutely explosive point guard, one of the most fun dunkers in the class, and he's also the most creative playmaker in the class. He gets a little wild at times, for sure, and that needs to be reined in. The fit isn't exactly the cleanest with Julius Randle initiating a lot of offense, RJ Barrett initiating a lot of offense, because Alondas is an inconsistent shooter from deep. But there's no denying that he's got the size and the athletic tools, the handle, the creativity with his passing that will allow him to find a role at the NBA level. I think that he would be a fun change of pace secondary guard who can come in, run the offense, and make plays for his teammates. So Alondas Williams would be a fun get for the Knicks at 42. And I think that at 42, if they can get this guy, it would be an absolute home run. This is another guy kind of in that Dyson Daniels mold we didn't know if he was we still don't know if he's gonna stay in the draft. It looks like it might be leaning that way. He might go above the Knicks pick here, but Dalen Terry from Arizona, this is a guy who had a quiet year when you just look at the stats because he wasn't featured in a prominent role with all of the talent at Arizona, but I had a scout tell me that he might be Arizona's best prospect long term, sneakily. So this is a kid, 6'7", playmaker, funky game. I think that he's one of the best passers in the class, loves leading cutters to the hoop, just the feel, the touch, and the enthusiasm with which he plays the game. The Garden would absolutely light on fire when this kid gets in the game. The shot's a little funky looking, but he hits it at a good percentage, so I think he does need to get the volume up, but the percentage is there, and I think he can clean it up at the NBA level. There's a little bit of Tyrese Halliburton in him. I'm not saying he's going to be a guy that could lead your franchise like Halliburton has proven that he could do at the point guard position, but he's got the size, the versatility, and the skill set to offer similar things, and I think that's what the NBA is all about. The modern NBA is about versatility. So that's why all of these guys that I featured here for the Knicks in this team-specific big board, that's my rationale. I didn't want to pigeonhole a point guard just because that's what everybody thinks the Knicks need. I wasn't going to give them Ty Washington just because he might be the highest ranked point guard. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I think the Knicks need, and that's giving a bunch of options. It's going to help with their versatility, the scheme versatility, offensively and defensively, and just hoping that they can nab the value at their picks. I think they're in a good spot. So fret not, Knicks fans. You didn't get a top pick, but you are going to get a fantastic player in this draft.